Netflix has removed the episode starring US comedian Hassan Minhaj in which he was critical of Saudi Arabia's rulers. Over to our entertainment's correspondent, Richard Marcus. Couldn't happen here, could it? You know, a comedian being condemned because we didn't like the joke. You know, we're far too liberal for that here, aren't we? Yeah? And I'm saying we'd never condemn a comedian for saying a tasteless joke. Would we? Not here, not in the Western world. You know, if that happened here, the comedy community, I mean, there'd be an outcry. When yes, I'm talking about Louis C.K., so I guess it's understandable. But is everyone having a go at Louis C.K. for wanking at women, or are we having a go at him for the jokes? Because if it's the jokes you're having a go at, you're an idiot. You know, there really is nothing liberal or progressive about intolerance to jokes that you don't like. Do you remember when these puritanical, condescending, patronising, censorious attacks on comedy were the purview of Mary Whitehouse and Daily Mail readers? Ban this filth. Now it's us. Now it's The Guardian, The Independent, CNN, and half the time these days it's also whoever is hosting Live at the Apollo that week. What the fuck is going on? Last year, the world stood aghast as Apu of The Simpsons was revealed to be a cartoon character representing a minority as a stereotype. Wasn't that the fucking point? Am I missing something? Or was it just everyone else missing the obvious for 30 years of Simpsons episodes? That was the fucking joke. Most people get that jokes are not the literal truth. It's only the vocal minority in the press and Twitter, many of whom are comedians themselves, who insist comedy be taken at face value. Whatever you think about the Louis C.K. routine, the press coverage, it's been ludicrous. Virtually every news outlet, The Guardian, CNN, blah, 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 all saying Louis C.K. makes fun of murder victims. Louis C.K. thinks that school shootings are funny. Of course he fucking doesn't. And you know he doesn't. Oh, but it wasn't funny. Really? Really? Are you really that entitled and arrogant to believe that your subjective assessment of comedy is gospel? Really? Yes, but imagine making jokes about a school shooting. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that. Also, imagine living in a country where mass shootings are so normal and everyday that you could imagine someone's response to a shooting in a school is to nonchalantly throw a fat kid into the line of fire. Imagine that. Because that's what Louis C.K. imagined and fictionalised with words that are not a literal representation of his opinion. We know that because he's a comedian on a stage at a comedy club and you can hear people laughing because they found it funny and not because they're alt-right fascists who like school kids being shot to death. Whatever we all might think about his conduct off stage, he was on stage in the context of being a comedian. I listened to that recording of his set. I laughed. Does that make me complicit in hate speech? Does it make me an apologist for sexual misconduct? No, it does not. And anyone who says it does is a fucking idiot. And no one's safe from this. Woke comedy, it will eat itself. American comic Nimesh Patel, one of the wokest of the woke, recently had his routine interrupted because he dared to mention race and sexuality. He wasn't being a racist or homophobic, but because he mentioned the subjects, these illiterate twats stormed the stage, cut the mic, and everyone in the audience cheered. Woo! Another victory for woke comedy. Hilarious. You know what woke comedy is? Woke comedy is the establishment. It's the Puritans with power telling everyone else how to think, what to laugh at. They're a bit like Bernard Manning, ironically enough. You know, they're intolerant, self-important, unwilling to listen to anyone else, and more than anything else, they don't trust the public. These predominantly privately educated middle-class twats have decided that the great unwashed are just one tasteless joke away from turning into fascists. They don't trust ordinary people to understand jokes. The irony being that they're the ones who insist on taking jokes at face value. It's time to start ignoring these fucking idiots when they pretend not to understand jokes, who deliberately ignore hyperbole, who purposely confuse irony with opinion, and it's time to stop thinking that comedy can be sanitized and that it is possible to go through life without risk of being offended. And now the weather. Yeah. Thank you, Richard. And now the weather.